Frank, always good to see you. And I'm so happy that we are sharing this moment together. This beautiful creation behind us comes from not just a creative mind, but it comes from a genius mind. And from the time that we have spoke and I've known you, you are a lot more than just an architect. You're a philosopher. And I love that. I mean, listening to you, hearing about your inspirations and what inspires you to create these beautiful structures, these structures that are not just, they're buildings that are alive, that create a response, a human response. It's something beautiful. So I think, I'm in awe of it. So I just really want to hear from you. What inspires you? I know we spoke about music, we spoke about different things. What goes on the mind of Frank Gehry when he creates something as beautiful and as stunning as the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi?
So my first meetings about this project were in New York. I don't know the culture to build something so important in their country without that knowledge. I need to be taught. I need to meet people. I remember Sheikh Sultan.
Yes.
And we had meetings. We drove around. I went to your mosque. I spent time learning about the birds.
The falcons.
Falcons.
Absolutely.
And how important that was. And I tried things. I work in models. And so I take a program and make a box for the galleries and the different things.
And I remember meeting you in your workshop in Los Angeles. And it was just models everywhere, on the floor, on the tables, on the ceilings. And I think that in itself is an inspiration place to work in.
So over the years, we have a warehouse, 60,000 square feet, filled with models. I don't know what to do with them.
I'll take them.
Yeah, we'll send them here. We can have a gallery and show them. But the models that led up to the design would be very important to show here, I think, at some point.
Absolutely.
To show how one thinks about it, how one explores it. It's a feeling, meeting people, seeing how they interact, listening to their words about what they want to achieve. Building a new city, right?
Be a part of that.
That's amazing, right?
Right now you're a part of the DNA, our architectural DNA.
Yeah, and I feel part of it. And yesterday was staggeringly emotional for me. I can't explain it, and you understand it. But I watched people. I spent time here. I watched people in the communities, sitting in the cafes, sitting under the trellises, sitting with. It was dealing with nature as you had it here. This is desert.
Absolutely.
Heavy sun, winds. It's not an easy climate to adapt. You have to almost invent an architecture. Your people lived in tents. They were nomadic. They moved from place to place. But always dealing with sun, wind.
With the weather, of course.
Desert, sands, and things like that. It was a learning curve for me, and I wanted it to be something that drew your attention to it, that was functional. It wasn't just decorative. That was usable. And I love the feeling of the white.
This is like our superhero outfit.
Right. And it felt ephemeral.
Correct. The way it flows with the wind.
Yeah, it's just part of the landscape.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's exciting and beautiful. So I looked at one thing that never had happened before was Tom assembled a meeting where he invited artists and from all the regions, from Lebanon, from Syria, And it was the first time, I think, that artists from all those different places were first considered artists on an international scheme. They were brought and treated like part of an international event. Absolutely. To become part of an art dialogue that is so powerful. You know, the calligraphy was amazing, and we had meetings with all of these curators and artists. They were already making art. They're already doing calligraphy. They're doing things that we love. Absolutely. And sounds. Absolutely. With instruments that were and engaging with people who had never heard such things. The possibilities there were staggeringly exciting. I don't know how else. It's one of the meetings I'll always remember. And I think so that was the DNA, the beginning of the DNA. Correct. For this. Absolutely. And since then, the Middle Eastern art has grown exponentially to such a degree that the world never saw that. You know, at the same level. Correct. The level of Jasper Johns, the level of Rauschenberg. Absolutely. Coming from this new culture that new to us. Absolutely.
I think the beautiful thing, Frank, is the natural geography of the UAE creates that natural connectedness between East and West. And as you rightfully said, you know, when we had our first meetings to discuss our cultural strategy and what we want to do on Saadiyat Island, and of course there was a discussion of a universal museum, which is the Louvre today. There was a discussion of a national museum that talks about the history of the land. You know, lots of people don't know the history of this land that dates thousands of years. Right. And when we eventually talked about having a contemporary modern art museum, it was, okay, where are we today? Let's look at all contemporary art museums around the world. Let's study them, let's understand them. We came with the conclusion that there's a massive amount of people and races and genders that are completely underrepresented in these museums. And we understood that it was unfair. Yeah. And if you look at, as you rightfully said, the values of how this country has been created based on inclusivity and connectiveness and giving opportunities to all, it was the DNA that we wanted to create within the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi. And from that moment, we wanted to know, okay, who shares our values as an architect? Who shares our ideas? Who can make this building come to life for these artists from all over the world and make the artists give the also building life? And I think from our perspective, we were tunnel visions to Frank Gehry. And you know, through your experiences, your inspirations, your love of music that not just goes to Western music, but international music, your connectiveness with the rest of the world, I think that gave birth to this beautifully designed building. That what will resonate out of it is so much more powerful than just one piece of art. It's going to be a powerful message that will change, I hope, generations to come.
Yeah. I look at it as kind of a birthplace.
I love that.
For a new discussion.
I love that. I'm going to steal that from you.
Yeah. No, it is that. It's not finished.
Absolutely.
It's a container for that, and we'll find ways
together.
To
Frank, yesterday when we went on a drive and we drove by Saadiyat, and you know, you pointed out at a distance and said that's the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi, and you saw on your right the Abrahamic family house, and on your left then you saw the Louvre, and then again you saw the Zayed National Museum. What feelings did you feel when you knew that sort of this is going to be the pinnacle of our architectural cultural district here on Saadiyat Island?
It's human. It has extraordinary promise. It has frailties. Mm-hmm. As a personal artist of my own, you know, I criticize my brethren, and they criticize me. It's natural. So I see the beginnings, and it's very powerful. It's very powerful what you've done. I think I look at it all as a container for developing a new paradigm.
I love that, absolutely.
And you're wide open. You don't have you're not locked into any preconceptions, which is great.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have fun working with the curators. I told them, I'm the architect, but I'm going to mess with you.
No, that's going to be, first of all, it's imperative you do so. And I think, you see this beautiful design, you see these beautiful cones, and we have a plan to commission artists to do some fantastic things. Of course, my dream is to have Frank Gehry do something really special on one of these cones, but I think you playing a role in inspiring and giving these artists not just inspiration, but sort of direction on what is your perception of these welcoming objects that are going to be within these beautiful cones.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of the artists, the American and European artists. I don't know the artists from out here.
Yeah,
So
I think the beautiful thing, you'll have the fantastic opportunity to meet, understand, create dialogue with artists from Africa, artists from Eastern Europe, Western Europe, the US, the Middle East, of course, Southeast Asia, and I think that is the beauty of our museum.
Yeah.
This interaction, which you rightfully had created when you met with the artist, but now that this is becoming real.
But that has become, when I met with the artists, when we started, it was a small group. Now it's grown exponentially.
Absolutely.
It's all over the world.
Since you've met, more than 600 pieces of art have been acquired from 60 different nationalities. It's like you said, it's truly becoming this global feat that we all envisioned it to be.
Yeah.
How now?
And I think it's changeable too. You're going to move things, and
absolutely.
so there are, you can show art in warehouses, and this is the center maybe, but you can have satellites.
Absolutely.
That are not as fancy maybe.
Absolutely, and I think
where there's experimental work
this is exactly
can happen. And I'm excited about that. And I know I'm an old guy, but I plan to come here as much as I can.
How old are you now, 34, 36?
Yeah, 35.
Yeah, you look good. You look fantastic. You must have a secret, because yesterday we were going from one site to the other, and at some point I was getting tired. So, and I wanted to steal some of your energy. So, what's that secret? Is it just the mind continues to create and to find things out and to try to continue to being imaginative?
Well, it's curiosity. I think is it's what if. You look at a place. I've been through. I've watched the world change under your direction over the last 10 years. I've watched you change, your culture change as it embraces people from all over the world, and you've been very open to that. You bring people here, so Lang Lang is here somewhere, and I think the musicians are excited about the future here.
One thing that I always love to hear from you is how music inspires you. How's it a huge part of your daily life?
When I was 8 years old, my mother took me to concerts. They were very poor, not a wealthy family, but she took me to concerts in Toronto, and I heard classical music. I fell in love with Chopin and piano, which is still exciting to me. I tried to play. I learned, but I couldn't. We couldn't afford teachers and stuff. I met jazz people. I hired Oscar Peterson, pianist.
Yes.
When he was 19.
Wow.
At my high school in Toronto to do a concert.
That's amazing.
And I'm in touch with his family still.
That's really moving.
So I became interested in jazz, and when I lived in Toronto, Glenn Gould was playing the Goldberg Variations. And my family name was not Gehry, it was Goldberg. So I thought that were my relatives. So I used to listen to that a lot. And over the years, I still have records of him and many others playing that I listen to all the time. So I can't read music. I'm not a musician, but I love to create spaces for music.
Phenomenal spaces.
And so I had an opportunity. Daniel Barenboim, pianist, conductor in Berlin, comes from Argentina. And when he was 5 years old, he played piano with Martha Argerich, who is one of the great Schumann pianists. She's still playing. We got to bring her here.
Absolutely.
I actually designed their concert hall in Berlin.
It's beautiful.
I did it as a gift. I didn't. Once I was hooked, I couldn't stop.
Absolutely.
And it's a magical little 700-seat hall. You should do something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because magic does come out of that hall.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, my stint was with music. So first of all, music plays a huge role in everything that I do.
Yeah.
And it's everything from Bach or Mozart to Tupac Shakur to Guns N' Roses to everything in between.
Yeah.
I mean, and it plays a pivotal role in everything that we're doing, because when I see your buildings and I see how it's going to be connected to the Louvre and everything else, I see it through musical notes. But as a musician, I can't play anything. I would hope that my voice is good. I mean, it sounds fantastic in the shower. But the fact of the matter is my stint with music, so my mother, God rest her soul, she used to love to listen to music. Everything from Fairuz to Beethoven. And so it was always playing in the household. So she tried to get me to play the violin. Now, why she chose the violin, the most difficult instrument to play, I have no idea. So you can imagine a 8-year-old, or actually no, a 7-year-old at the time, trying to play Mary Had a Little Lamb on the piano. So that ended very, very quickly. And then I moved my musical career to just sports.
So I've witnessed young musicians in young musician class, and they also play Mary Had a Little Lamb. Right now I'm working with Wayne Shorter, a jazz musician who was with Miles Davis way back, and Esperanza Spalding.
Oh, yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so she's a miracle.
Absolutely.
You got to bring her here. So we're doing a jazz opera, and it'll be at
when?
In the fall soon in Washington.
Amazing.
We did the sets, and I don't know if the sets are any good or anything, but the experience of working with jazz music, because Wayne, I would ask him, what are we doing? He would say, you can't do what you ain't invented yet. So everything was an invention, a work of and the set design was all on the way to being.
Wow.
Never could predict. So I don't know what it's going to be.
I'm sure it's going to be fantastic.
But I think I've been asked to do sets. I love doing the sets. We did Don Giovanni in Disney Hall with Dudamel. And so it's not an opera house. It didn't have an orchestra yet. And I didn't have time. And so there's a fable that I crumple paper, and that's what I did. I crumpled paper, and the set is that.
Wow.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I love your stories when you were starting to envision these cones, how you crumpled a blue paper.
Yeah. It was accidental that it was blue.
Really, huh?
But when we made the model and lit it at night, it was magical.
Absolutely.
So those are some of the...
I mean, I love your use. I mean, your designs are so detailed. It's been a pleasure working with you. But what I love to see on how you're focused on sustainability.
Yeah.
You know, yes, it's a large building, but it's a sustainable building.
Yeah.
You know, 3 Pearl Istidama rating. It's phenomenal to see something of this scale and this size can achieve that. And it only could have been achieved with your team and your technological team and what you're trying to achieve with the materiality of this museum.
Well, I think the important thing is to be thorough, to not create something that's going to be an albatross of maintenance and problems. You have that all over the place. Everybody does, because it's new world, and how do you take advantage of new technologies and so on.
Absolutely.
So we started working with a software from France, from Dassault, people that did the Falcon jet.
Yes.
They have a software called CATIA. This was 30 years ago now.
Wow.
They hadn't done buildings. They were building Boeing aircraft, and so we used that software because it's so precise that you can pre-build the building in the computer.
Wow.
All the details. So we have models of this in the computer that has every piece of steel, you can point to it and it'll show you.
It has all the thresholds, everything.
You couldn't build it without this software.
I'm sure.
The bird's nest in Beijing for the world,
Yes.
they couldn't build it without
this.
we had to come in and do and share the software with them so they could do it.
Absolutely. As a tool, as you rightfully said, it gives you, it mitigates your risk so much, and it also makes you understand the building a lot more than your conventional CAD drawings or...
Yeah, it's not 2D, you can't do...
Absolutely.
And it saves a lot of time and money. I mean, we've helped this in the city of New York. They had time schedules for building stuff in New York that were bogus because they didn't take into account the traffic patterns in New York. So you could not do, even though they could build it if there wasn't the problem of traffic and weather and all those things, they could build it on their schedule. But as soon as you added that, it added 2 years to the schedule, which they didn't plan on. Bringing trucks and materials to the site in Midtown, right in the center of Manhattan, is not possible.
I'm sure.
Without a lot of pre-planning and taking it in. So I think I've always felt that it's great to have ideas, but if you just have ephemera and it's beautiful and your clients and people love it, it doesn't mean anything unless you can deliver it. And that can be put on the ground with a reasonable cost, with a reasonable time, with a reasonable expectation that it's going to be maintainable and
have longevity.
Longevity, yeah. So that's become a big part of our, and so we've worked on that a lot, and we shared it with some of the bigger firms.
And that's what I love about that. Basically, you're open to be sharing your experiences and all of that with other parties, external parties.
And we hope they do the same with us. Not always easy.
I'm sure. You know, Frank, so over our conversations over the last couple of years, of course, I found out that you're an avid lover of sailing. You love to sail. And obviously with the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi, you're surrounded with beautiful blue waters. How important was that for you to have your museum surrounded with
Well, sailing is nature. It's the wind, and it's predictable, but it's not predictable. And it's quiet. I don't hear an engine. I love just being with nature and being able to use this sheet of canvas and move it around, and it propels.
Navigates you.
10 knots of speed. A friend of mine made a trimaran experimental, which I sailed, and I was sitting on it, and it flipped up, and I was up at the top, you know, doing 25 knots
Wow.
in Santa Monica,
Wow.
in the bay. That's powerful because it's nature and understanding what that means and understanding the unpredictability and how do you shift your what you got, the booms and the sails and the managing of the relationship with nature.
Absolutely.
That's an incredible experience.
Sure.
And you can do it alone. I used to sail alone sometimes.
Yeah, it's almost, it gives you this sort of clarity that sometimes you're searching for. And I think
it's simple.
Absolutely, and this is, for us, it was important because, our natural topography here, and historically our people here from the UAE are attached, of course, to nature. They're attached to the water, attached to the desert, attached to the oasis, and attached to the mangroves. And each of those aspects are part of our DNA. So, when I first saw the design, and of course I saw the blue waters surrounding it, I have a very wild imagination. So I was imagining, once this museum is opened and visitors from all over the world are walking in and they're walking towards Frank Gehry's Guggenheim, and then at the backdrop, you see some of our beautiful dhows, their beautiful white sails going up and down our oceans. I mean, that interaction could be stunning.
So I hope it doesn't just be Frank Gehry's Guggenheim. It's our Guggenheim.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's really important.
Definitely.
That it's embraced and the people here, it belongs to them, and it's been a collaboration.
Absolutely.
With your culture, and I'm really excited about it and very proud that I was able to do it.
We're grateful, we're thankful, and we are all looking forward, when the doors opened, to see what the message and how people interact with the museum as an architectural, beautiful building, and then the content of this museum, and then to walk out of it with the hope that they walk out of it different people, better people. And I think that's what we all want to achieve.
So when I started, your dream seemed so impossible. And we started working together, and what led to this, the meetings, the experience of the people I've met, has been very, very moving to me and changing my thinking a lot.
We are heavily privileged here in the UAE and in Abu Dhabi that leadership here has given an in-depth look at culture. Not just understanding it, but making sure how we disseminate culture to the rest of the world. And one thing that sticks to my mind is there was a conversation I had with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed close to 6 to 7 years ago. And he said to me, Mohammed, culture is the building blocks of any forward-thinking society.
Yeah.
So let's go full, let's make sure we basically have cultural institutions. Let's make sure that basically culture is embedded inside our curricula. Let music flow through our corridors and through our homes. And that, when you have that sort of backing, it gives you the opportunities to not fear doing things of this scale, to not fear trying new things for us. And because of that, you see things that you saw yesterday together. But to me, and this is not to take anything from any other architect, with all the projects we've done, the most one I'm looking forward to is the Guggenheim Abu Dhabi. It's really going to be something special.
I hope I can deliver.
That's no fear about that. So I owe you 3 things. 1, I need to get you one of those, okay? But don't wear it around me, because then you'll steal the entire spotlight. So you can wear it at home, wear it in Santa Monica, but not here. and then the second thing is we need to do something in the world of music.
I'm ready.
Absolutely. And the third thing is our promise to make sure that this building is basically done in the right way, at the right time frame, and to make sure that all visitors, when they visit, they're in awe of this beautiful, complex, full of life building.
So after yesterday, Megan, my chief, where is she? She's over there.
Yes.
Brilliant lady, brilliant mind.
Absolutely.
Said we got to come here more often.
Absolutely.
So we're planning. We've been offered work in other countries around here, and I've refused everything. I just want to focus on you.
This relationship is not about one museum.
Right.
It's about a evolution of projects, which I think we're going to create together. So I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your mind, and I'm grateful for you.
For as long as I can, I'm yours.
Frank, always good talking to you.
Okay.